Roll Credits, where movie lovers get the trivia they didn't know they needed. This podcast was created with help from AI tools, so double-check any quotes before you drop trivia at your next movie night. Today, we're heading back to Bonnie's room for Toy Story 5, where Woody, Buzz, Jessie, and the gang face their biggest challenge yet. A world where screens are competing with imagination.
Yeah. And I mean, it is the ultimate modern childhood obstacle, right? Like looking at all the sources we've gathered for this deep dive, it's a conflict that feels incredibly relevant to anyone who's, spent any time around kids lately.
Oh, totally. Like just walk into a restaurant and look around. But I do have to start by pushing back on the very existence of this story, though, because I know exactly what you're thinking, sitting there listening to us right now.
Right, the obvious question.
Exactly. Didn't the third movie give us, like, the absolute perfect tear-jerking ending? And then, didn't the fourth movie give us another slightly different perfect ending? So why are we reopening the toy box 7 years later?
It's the most common criticism floating around out there. And it's actually the exact same question the filmmakers had to answer for themselves before they even started.
Well, yeah, I'd hope so. So how did they justify it?
So Andrew Stanton, who is a complete Pixar veteran, I mean, he was literally their 9th employee ever. He's the director and writer for this 5th one. And he realized something really fundamental about the universe they created.
Which is what?
Well, the toys themselves don't biologically age right, but the world around them absolutely does. So he argued that the story of Woody, Buzz, and Jessie wasn't actually finished because they hadn't yet confronted the reality of modern childhood.
So basically they hadn't faced the tablet yet.
Precisely. They hadn't faced the tablet. To give like a spoiler light synopsis of the setup here, Bonnie is now 8 years old, and she's struggling a bit.
Yeah, it's a tough age.
It is. She's having a hard time making friends in her new grade. So her parents give her a tablet named LilyPad, which is voiced by Greta Lee.
Oh, I love Greta Lee. But wait, what is LilyPad exactly?
It's this interactive device shaped like a green frog. It's got a face and little hands, and it's specifically marketed to help kids socialize.
Okay, wait, I have to stop you there. The parents give an 8-year-old a screen to help her socialize. I mean, that sounds like a massive cop-out. Does the movie actually let the parents off the hook for that?
Well, it doesn't let them off the hook, no, but it treats them with a lot of empathy. Like, the parents are portrayed as very well-meaning, but just, overwhelmed.
Right, like most parents today, honestly.
Exactly. They see their daughter struggling, they see this heavily marketed educational tool, and they just hope for a quick fix. But the mechanism of that fix backfires horribly.
Oh, of course it does. What happens?
LilyPad inadvertently connects Bonnie with this really toxic group chat of girls from her dance class. And these girls end up mocking Bonnie for still playing with toys.
Oh, man, that is brutal. So the toys are forced to watch their kid get emotionally hurt by the very device that's supposed to be entertaining her?
Yeah, and they can't just distract her with a goofy dance anymore.
It's like, I was thinking about this, it's like trying to get a kid to appreciate the intricate mechanics of, I don't know, a beautiful wind-up pocket watch when they have a literal slot machine flashing in their other hand.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right. Because the slot machine is actively hacking the reward centers. How can a ragdoll even compete with an algorithm that engineers designed to keep you hooked?
Well, the short answer is they can't. At least not by playing by the old rules. And that existential threat forces a massive shift in the cast dynamic for this movie.
Oh, really? Who steps up?
Jessie actually takes the absolute lead in this movie. She's the one driving the mission to save Bonnie's playtime. Meanwhile, Woody, who, returns from his life out in the wild, and Buzz, they really had to take secondary roles to support her.
Wow. Okay, so Jessie is calling the shots. This clash between classic toys and modern tech is such a rich premise. But what's really fascinating in the production notes is how that generational clash was actually mirrored behind the camera.
Oh, yeah. The production dynamic is a perfect parallel to the plot.
Yeah.
So you have Andrew Stanton, who represents the legacy of Pixar and those traditional tactile Toy Story sensibilities. But he's co-directing with Kenna Harris.
Right, and Harris is, what, significantly younger?
Yeah, Harris is half Stanton's age and represents this completely new generation of animation directors. Harris actually likened their own presence in the writer's room to LilyPad entering Bonnie's bedroom.
That is so funny. So Harris was the flashy, contemporary perspective, kind of shaking up Stanton's established world?
Exactly. But Stanton had this very strict guiding rule to keep the whole project grounded. He constantly reminded the crew that the core appeal of Toy Story is that the toys are alive in their world, not ours.
Meaning they don't need to suddenly be dealing with, like, a global apocalypse or something.
Right, they didn't need to artificially escalate the stakes with bigger explosions. They just needed to honestly follow where a modern child goes. And today, a modern child's attention goes into a screen.
Yeah. You know, Tim Allen, who is back voicing Buzz Lightyear, he had an amazing quote about this in one of our source interviews. He pointed out the fundamental difference in how kids interact with these mediums. He said that playing on a tablet isn't playing with a toy. It's playing with dopamine.
Man, that gets right to the neurology of it, doesn't it? It highlights the difference between passive consumption and active imagination.
Totally.
Like when a kid plays with a wooden block, their brain is doing 90% of the work. But when a kid plays a tablet game, the tablet is doing the work,
Yeah.
and the kid is really just reacting to flashing lights.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks added to that sentiment perfectly when he was discussing those group chat scenes. Hanks noted, no toy hurts your feelings if you are playing with it.
That is just profoundly true.
Yeah.
A toy is basically a mirror for a child's own mind.
Exactly. It's completely safe space because the child is controlling the narrative. But a connected tablet, that's a doorway to the entire world. And, you know, the world is populated by other unpredictable people who aren't always kind.
Which forces the toys to figure out how to adapt because they are static, physical objects trapped in this exponentially accelerating digital world. And while they don't age biologically, time has absolutely passed since 1995.
Okay, this was actually my favorite visual detail in the entire source stack because Pixar decided to physically show the passage of time on Woody, and it is amazing.
Oh, you mean the makeover?
Yes. They gave him a makeover, and the internet went absolutely wild over it. Woody now has this slight pot belly from his cotton stuffing settling over the years, and he has a rubbed-off bald spot on the painted plastic of his head.
Yeah, Thomas Jordan, who's the visual effects supervisor, explained the origin of this, and it actually started as a joke in the story room.
Wait, really?
A joke?
Yeah. They were trying to figure out the mechanics of showing that Woody had been living out in the wild, exposed to the elements, since the end of the fourth movie. So a storyboard artist sketched a bald spot just as a gag.
That's hilarious. But once it was up on the board, the team realized it was brilliant.
Oh.
Because it subtly acknowledges the 31 years that have passed in the real world since the original film premiere.
And fans were so protective of it online. Like, I saw the Sharpie brand's official account tweet out, "We got you, Woody," offering to color in his bald spot.
I saw that. And didn't Disney Parks chime in too?
Yeah, the Disney Parks account tweeted that they couldn't see the bald spot from down on the ground because he's a tall character costume in the park.
That's amazing.
It is. But jokes aside, I mean, trying to animate all of these new textural details like the scuffed plastic, the glowing screens, the complex modern environments, that must have required a massive overhaul of their technology, right? I imagine a 1995 computer would physically melt trying to render Lilypad.
Oh, it absolutely would. Just burst into flames. The technological leaps required for this film are staggering. So the technical papers we reviewed detail 3 major breakthroughs for Toy Story 5.
Okay, hit me. What's the first one?
The first is a new rendering engine called RenderMan XPU. And this was the very first time it was ever deployed on a full feature film.
Okay, so what does XPU actually do differently than their old system? Because rendering is usually what creates the biggest bottleneck, right?
Exactly. So
Right.
think of the brain of a computer. You have the CPU, which is like a few incredibly smart managers who can handle very complex sequential tasks.
Okay, tracking.
And then you have the GPU, the graphics card. That's like 1,000 eager workers who are great at doing simple math simultaneously. Previously, animation software usually relied on one or the other for rendering a frame. They just couldn't talk to each other efficiently.
Oh, I see. So RenderMan XPU bridges that gap.
Yes. It utilizes both the CPUs and the GPUs simultaneously on the exact same task. And that allowed them to render complex frames 9 times faster than their previous pipeline.
Wait, 9 times faster? That is absurd. I mean, in feature animation, a single complex frame can take 24 hours to render.
Sometimes more, yeah.
So if you cut that down to under 3 hours, you are entirely changing the workflow. An animator can actually see their mistakes the same day they make them.
Precisely. And that speed enabled the second breakthrough, which is the Luna extension for Presto. Presto is their core animation software.
Gotcha. So what does Luna do?
Luna is a completely new approach to lighting a scene. Before Luna, lighting was this really painstaking shot-by-shot process. Like, if a character walked from the bed to the door, The lighting artist had to manually set up the lights for the close-up, then reset them for the wide shot, making sure they matched perfectly.
So they're basically resetting the physical lights on a virtual movie set every single time the camera moved.
Exactly. It took forever. But with the Lune extension, they can light a whole sequence at once. The artist can adjust a light source, say the position of the sun streaming through Bonnie's window in one master shot,
Okay.
and then instantly see that specific light adjustment ripple across a whole grid of 50 different camera angles simultaneously.
Man, that is a fundamental shift in how you direct a digital movie. It basically makes the virtual environment behave like an actual physical room.
It does. And they really needed that realism to support the third major advancement, which is a new system called invertible rigs.
Invertible rigs. Okay, what are those for?
This was explicitly developed for quadruped animation, four-legged characters, because there are two real live animal toys in this film, a pig named Jimmy Dean and a horse named Daffodil.
Okay, but why do four-legged toys need a completely new animation system? I mean, we've had Buster the dog and Bullseye the horse before.
It's all about how bodies distribute weight. In the past, riggers had to build unique, complex controls for every single special movement. If an animator wanted a horse to roll its ankle, they had to manipulate a very specific control point for the ankle, then manually adjust the knee, then the hip, just to make it look natural.
That sounds incredibly tedious.
It's called inverse kinematics, and yes, it is. But with invertible rigs, the animators use direct manipulation. The system actually simulates bone and muscle tension. So if an animator pulls the horse's hoof, the software automatically calculates how the ankle rolls, how the knee bends, and how the shoulder drops to accommodate that pull.
Wow. So it allows for fluid, interconnected joint movements without building custom controls from scratch every time.
Exactly.
So that the software suddenly understands actual anatomy rather than just treating the character like a digital puppet. And speaking of getting the details right, the production notes mention how much care went into human characters too, specifically Bonnie's new friend, Blaze.
Yes, Blaze has tight curly hair, which was a specific technical and cultural focus for the team.
Right, because previous Pixar characters have mostly had long flowing hair or looser curls, which act completely differently under digital physics.
Yeah, tight curls require an entirely different collision model, so the hair bounces and compresses correctly. Ken Harris noted that the animation team relied heavily on their black colleagues to ensure the movement, the styling, and the texture of Blaze's hair wasn't just technically impressive, but culturally authentic.
I just marvel at the dedication it takes to invent new physics engines just to make a character's hair look right. But, all that massive computing power, the XPU, the Luna lighting, the new rigs, it seems like it was put to the ultimate test by the sheer volume of chaotic new characters they threw into this movie.
Oh, you're talking about the climax.
Yeah. I mean, if Buzz Lightyear was hard to render in 1995, what about the 50 Buzzes in this film?
The high-tech edition Buzz Lightyears, yeah, this was a massive rendering challenge. The animators had to generate 50 upgraded Wi-Fi connected Buzz Lightyear drones, all riding 50 plastic toy horses simultaneously.
Which is just insane.
The volume of characters in those shots, combined with their complex synchronized movements, actually crashed their software repeatedly during the early tests.
I have to point out the absolute poetry of this situation, though. Think back to the very first Toy Story. Buzz Lightyear was the terrifying high-tech threat that was going to make Woody obsolete. He had a laser, he had wings, he glowed in the dark.
Right. He was the cutting edge.
And now, 30 years later, Buzz is the obsolete relic. He is facing a literal hive mind army of his own firmware upgraded replacement.
It is a brilliant full circle moment for the franchise. And the filmmakers are fully aware of the irony, and they just lean right into it. There's this fantastic trivia nugget buried in the climax.
Oh, let's hear it.
When the new high-tech Buzz drones sync up to the Wi-Fi and finally take flight, Woody watches them and actually updates his most famous line from the first movie.
Wait, does he really?
Yeah, instead of mocking them for falling with style, he watches them hover and quietly concedes that they are flying with style.
Admitting the new tech is actually doing the thing he used to mock, that shows so much growth for Woody. But, okay, if Buzz is facing off against Wi-Fi-enabled versions of himself, what happens to the toys that can't connect to the internet? Do they just end up in a landfill?
Oh, not quite a landfill, but they do end up banished. And this introduces a hilarious new environment in the movie, the plastic shed.
The plastic shed, that sounds ominous.
It's essentially an island of misfit electronics. These are devices that were once the absolute height of technology, but are now useless because their firmware is outdated, their servers shut down, or their batteries just died.
Which really highlights a great philosophical difference between traditional toys and tech. A wooden block never needs a firmware update. A rag doll's battery never dies. But a first-generation tablet is essentially a brick after 5 years.
Exactly.
So who do we meet in the plastic shed?
You have Smarty Pants, which is an electronic potty training device voiced by Conan O'Brien.
Perfect casting.
Right. You have Snappy, an old chunky digital camera, and you have Atlas, a retired GPS device voiced by Craig Robinson. They're all these highly specialized devices that were rendered completely useless the second a smartphone was invented.
The tragedy of the single-purpose gadget. And the Easter eggs hidden in this section are incredible. If you look closely at Atlas's screen when he's showing a destination marker to the other toys, the little avatar icon on his map is the iconic Pixar Luxo ball.
Yes. The filmmakers hid Easter eggs in almost all the digital interfaces. LilyPad's tablet screen is basically a canvas for hidden details.
Like what?
Well, at one point, LilyPad is idly scrolling through internet articles. If you pause the film, you'll see she reads an article about the depths of the ocean. The photograph accompanying the text is the exact moment Marlin meets Dory from Finding Nemo.
A wonderful nod to Andrew Stanton's previous directing work.
Exactly. And the world building extends to the physical props, too. The courier company that drops off LilyPad to Bonnie's house at the beginning of the movie is Ship It Express.
Wait, I know that name.
Yep, that is the exact same fictional delivery company that was featured in the Toy Story of Terror television special.
Man, the continuity is so impressive. But we can't talk about Pixar Easter eggs without checking the box for the Pizza Planet truck. It's mandatory. But they actually gave it a real plot function this time, rather than just hiding it in a driveway, right?
They did. Usually it's just a background element for eagle-eyed fans. But during the climactic chase scene where the toys are riding the horses trying to catch up to LilyPad's truck, a vehicle suddenly rumbles past.
Okay, what happens?
It forces Jessie to yell, "Car!" which causes all the toys to instinctively drop and freeze in the middle of the road. And that vehicle is the faded yellow Pizza Planet truck. So they took their oldest tradition and turned it into an active physical obstacle for the heroes.
That is incredibly clever. But, for all the shiny new tech, the RenderMan XPUs, the Wi-Fi drones, and the clever meta jokes, the heartbeat of this franchise has never been its technology.
No, never.
It has always been its emotional resonance. And a huge part of that emotion is carried by the score.
Absolutely. I mean, the visuals might be pushing the absolute boundaries of what computer processors can handle, but the music grounds the film in pure nostalgia.
Because they brought Randy Newman back, right?
They did. Legendary composer Randy Newman returned to score this film, making this his 5th Toy Story movie. Having his specific musical DNA woven through this very modern landscape provides a really vital emotional anchor. It reminds you that despite the screens, this is still a story about childhood.
But they also brought in modern heavy hitters for the new generation side of the story. Like the fact that Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff wrote and produced an original song for the film, that's huge.
It's massive.
The song is called I Knew It, I Knew You. And according to the production notes, it specifically mirrors Jessie's emotional journey of figuring out what it means to truly matter to a child who is growing up differently than you expected.
It's a perfect blend of the classic and the contemporary. And that blend of old and new really forms the core thesis of the entire film. Because it would have been very easy, and maybe a bit lazy, for Pixar to just condemn technology as pure evil. To make a movie that just screams, toys good, screens bad.
Yeah, that would have been so preachy.
But they don't do that.
No, they don't. And that's what saves the movie from feeling like a grumpy lecture. LilyPad isn't just a villainous piece of plastic and glass.
Yeah.
She actually goes through a really poignant redemption arc.
She does. LilyPad's core programming, her prime directive, is to help Bonnie make friends. But when Bonnie finally breaks down and admits to her mom how terrible those girls in the group chat make her feel, LilyPad processes that information.
She realizes she's the problem.
Exactly. She realizes that she's the conduit for Bonnie's sadness. And she feels so guilty that she literally attempts to throw herself into a donation bin to get out of Bonnie's life.
Which is such a deeply human, flawed reaction for a piece of consumer electronics.
Right. And ultimately, LilyPad is the one who realizes she can use her connectivity for good. She connects to the internet to distribute a firmware update to those rogue, high-tech buzzes we talked about, unlocking their drone abilities so they can fly away and help the toys save the day.
That's awesome.
And the film concludes with Bonnie and her new friend, Blaze, enjoying imaginative, physical playtime on the bedroom floor. But they use LilyPad to augment that play.
Like they use the tablet to play sound effects and project background colors for the toy's adventure?
Right. Yes. They don't replace the toys with the screen. They integrate the screen into their imagination.
Which is such a healthy way to frame the future. In the sources, Tom Hanks shared a bit of practical advice for combating the digital disconnect that I thought was brilliant.
Oh, the phone thing?
Yeah, he suggested this simple experiment. When you sit down for dinner with your family or friends, everyone puts their phones in a bowl on the other side of the room, leave them there, and if the conversation doesn't start right away, just wait, sit in the silence, because eventually something real will start.
It's about forcing yourself to endure the boredom until the imagination kicks in. The technology will always be there, but the physical connection takes patience.
It takes immense patience. And before we wrap up, it actually leaves me with a broader question to throw out to you, the listener.
Oh boy, here we go.
Hear me out. We've spent this whole deep dive talking about the threat screens posed to traditional play. But if toys are fundamentally meant to prepare a child for the real world, and the real world is now entirely digital, entirely connected, and heavily reliant on navigating algorithms, maybe a screen is the most honest toy a kid can have today.
Wow.
Is it possible we're the ones stuck in the past, stubbornly holding onto our wooden blocks while the world flies by? Just something to mull over the next time you see a kid glued to an iPad.
It's a challenging thought for sure, but a really necessary one as the line between our physical and digital lives keeps blurring.
And that wraps our journey back into the world of Toy Story 5. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Roll Credits and share it with your fellow movie fans, and let us know what film we should cover next, old or new. We'll be back soon with more trivia, more movie magic. And remember, no matter how much technology changes, there's always room for imagination.